What an absolute mess. I swear. I mean, my God. All right, let's go ahead and let's go draw that back over to. What a mess. All right, everyone, let me go post over on the Twitter. What an absolute mess. So I've been having, it's neither here nor there, but I've been having so many problems with like hackers and people just messing with my stuff, which is just so much fun. Is Twitter down too? Am I wrong here, or is Twitter down? I've got people who watch my back when it comes to quote unquote hacking attempts, but I don't know exactly what's going on. Yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah, that's the thing, Joan. Is I got told last week that something happened along those lines with the DDoS. I don't have a clue what is happening. Oh, what a mess this is. But yeah, for whatever reason, I'm unable to use Twitter now, which is really weird. I get roughly like five attempts by people to break into my Twitter every day, and it is see, so now I can go over here and do this, but for whatever reason, I'm incapable to use Twitter on my laptop. So this is fun. I'm so sorry, everyone. Give me like 2 seconds to get this thing back up and going. And again, it's just been this really bizarre thing where, okay, so now I was able to get into my Twitter, but I had to like go and do this thing. All right. Give me 1 second, everyone. We're about there. All right. Anyway. What a mess. Anyway, I might have to figure out something or another, some other service, or I don't know, some other way to do this stuff without having my stuff hacked. I don't know. It's been so weird as we've gotten closer to the election, and I had like a weird sort of confluence of things where as the book was coming out, as American Rule was coming out, it was obvious that there was like a concentrated sort of attack on my stuff, and it was obvious that it had been like coordinated and planned out to coincide with the book coming out. And you know, I'm not completely shocked that that's the case. I mean, you know, I whenever politics gets a little heated or whatever, it kicks up, right? Or if I have an article come out, or if I have like some investigation out, or like a thread out, all of a sudden the harassment like goes through the roof. I don't know what's happening, but it is it's really weird, really, really super weird. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try something else at some other time. So anyway, like I was saying, and we'll get back up to speed. You know, whoever Trump gets in the Supreme Court is somebody who is going to basically rubber stamp whatever he does if he has another term, right? It's going to be somebody who, you know, will stand right there with the right majority on the court and basically allow him to get away with whatever he wants in a second term or third term or fourth term, make sure that he gets all of that, and on and on and on and on. But I think there's a lot going on here with this because McConnell wants to get it across. The American right wants to go ahead and recognize their dominance of the court. It's what they've wanted. It's one of the reasons why they've been swallowing Donald Trump whole, why they've been licking the boot. They want to go ahead and they want to go after abortion. They're so close to taking Roe v. Wade that they can taste it. So why would they want to delay? So you actually see a weird relationship between Trump and McConnell. I think McConnell, right now, I think the plan is to try and get this thing through during a lame duck session or right after the election. And I think you'll see a lot of the moderate Republicans get on board with that. But here's the thing, and let's go ahead and go to Jackie's question. Can I talk about packing the court? This is an option. It is an option to go ahead, and all it takes is an act of Congress and the president to make this happen. Now, I also have to say this. If we're talking about packing the court, we're talking about another round, another political game, another escalation. I don't know where this cycle of gamesmanship and eye for an eye politics, I don't know where it stops, right? Because I have to tell you that if Joe Biden wins the presidency and Donald Trump actually goes ahead and accepts defeat, if he goes ahead and packs the court, I mean, you're going to see extremism off the charts. I don't know where that stops. And part of what we have to do is we have to both restore some sort of order to this country while also turning the temperature down, but also fixing our problems. We have to, it's like one of those things where we have to walk, chew gum, and also jump at the same time. I mean, there's so much to do. And if we pack the court, who's to say that a Republican's not going to pack the court? And then the next person's going to pack the court. I don't know where it stops. I honest to God don't. And Salmon said that. What's stopping the GOP from adding 2 more justices and so on and so forth? I don't know. I really, really don't know. I don't know how you stop it. I don't know how you stop the escalation and the gamesmanship and the eye for an eye politics. So for instance, Mange says the post-RBG narrative seems to be the rules are there are no rules. I don't know how to get on the other side of this if Dems insist on sticking to chivalry. This is one of the big problems, is the Democratic Party for years now. And by the way, I'm not talking about like Democratic voters. I'm not talking about Democratic supporters. I'm talking about Democratic politicians. They have continually tried to win this game with Republicans by saying, look what they're doing. Can you believe that they're such hypocrites? Can you believe that they're breaking the laws? Can you believe that they have the temerity to do this and the shamelessness to do this? And it's like they've been looking at the refs, who are the media. And I have to tell you, the media loves this shit. Like, this is prime time television for these people. I talk about it all the time, how addicted the media is to Donald Trump and this dysfunction. It is everything that they want. They want this television show. They want this spectacle. They want the dysfunction, because the reason that they are so addicted to this stuff is because they are addicted to things that actually hurt the country. That's the problem here. And in this situation, the Democrats have just continually been like, can you believe Republicans are doing this? They have not talked about it in a reality sense. And this is one of the problems. And I think this is actually an issue that we've seen the past couple of days. And we're going to talk about what they've been doing. And actually, I'll go ahead and say it. I got 2 questions about Pelosi, and then I'll jump in on this. Honest Rocker says Pelosi has been maddeningly inactive, repeatedly failing to use her power to thwart fascism. Now she says impeachment could happen and alludes to other arrows in the quiver. Could House Dems really be getting ready to show teeth again? Catherine says, what's your take on Nancy Pelosi? Here's my problem. We're still talking about a game, right? By saying to the media, can you believe they're doing this? Will you play referee? Will you call this what it is? What we're actually doing is we're hoping that this game will get back to the rules that it had. Well, I got bad news for you. This shit ain't a game. This hasn't been a game forever. This isn't something to play around with. And the fact is, the Republican Party rallied around replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg against her dying wish before, she's not on the ground. That's the big issue here. Like, they immediately were like, oh yeah, absolutely, we're going to be hypocrites and we're going to do this thing. Well, it's not a game. And I have to tell you, and this is something that really pissed me off. I don't know if anybody else read this. It was Ezra Klein's new book. It was about partisanship and how we've gotten to the place where we are. And he actually talked about the Mitch McConnell move. And Ezra Klein is very much a technocrat. He's very much a neoliberal. Like, he sort of sees politics as a game, and you put a little column A, column B, and eventually you figure out a way to do things or whatever. He's very much in like this, sort of market solutions to things. Why we are polarized. That's right. And he was like, oh, this was actually a really good move by Mitch McConnell to not seat Merrick Garland, right? Not to give him a vote. And he's like, well, why would he? Like, he had he had nothing to gain and everything to lose by not doing it. And at that point, you're talking about a game, right? Because you're it's a sport. You're talking about, oh, that's a nice move. That was a wonderful play that the quarterback just made. This is how that play came together. That doesn't work. That isn't how you run a society. This isn't, and part of the problem is that the pundit class in this country, and I tweeted this the other day, the punditry in this country has more or less ruined it. It has created a situation where we have to have strategies. We have to figure out, oh, who made the winning play? Who won this cycle? Who did this? Instead of, how do we have a society that works? What Democrats need to be doing right now, because Mitch McConnell is still coming up with his strategy. I think that the Democratic Party should be finding every camera and every place that they possibly can to go out and say to Americans, listen, this isn't a partisan thing. This isn't Democrat, Republican, left and right, blue and red. You need to understand that this is a fascistic movement that's taking place right now. They're not doing this to help you. They're not doing to serve your constituency. We are in a full-blown societal crisis because we are. Not only is it the Supreme Court situation, we have Trump voters who are blocking people from going in to vote right now. We have Trump supporters who are going into cities with guns and weapons and going out hunting for the opposition. Okay, we've got other people on the right who are calling for insurrection acts, who are talking about rounding up people. We have other people who are saying, let's just go ahead and steal the election, see what happens. That's not a game. These aren't winning moves. These are destructive moves. People have died. People are going to die. We have to stop pretending like any of this is normal and like any of this is okay. It is not a game. Democrats need to stop playing this move and that move and that move, because when you play the game that the Republicans have designed by the rules that they have made. That's the problem with Trump. That's the problem with McConnell, is that they have determined what the game is and how you play it. You cannot win that way. And winning shouldn't even be the thing. It should be about surviving. We need something besides the Republican Party. The Republican Party is terminally ill with fascism. They have no actual ideology. They're not pro-life. They're not pro-troop. They're not pro-country. They're not pro-free market. They're not fiscal conservatives. They're not social conservatives. None of it. All they are is completely obsessed with power. That's it. And we have to call it what it is, and we have to stop playing around. And until we do that, it's going to be an issue. And the Democratic Party has failed in this test for years. Years and years and years. Sarah. Oh, hi, Sarah. How are you? Sarah was a student of mine. She was wonderful. After the election, how do we start to dismantle a two-party system? That's a big question. I don't know if it's going to happen after this election, but I've talked about this on past live streams and podcasts. I think whatever happens in this election, I think that, oh, happy birthday. Cheers. Happy birthday. Thank you for hanging out with us. I think you're going to see the left start to splinter in one way or another. I think there's a real possibility that we could see the Democratic Party have, I've called it a demolition derby, you want to call it a political civil war. I think that younger people do not like having to choose between two parties. I think that we could see a potential change, but I don't know when it's going to happen, because the two parties completely run the system, and they run basically how you're able to get involved in the system, whether it's running for office or getting your name on a ballot. P. Madison says, what strategies do the Dems have to prevent a replacement? Could they start any kind of new hearings, impeachment, or otherwise? I think there's a possibility that they might try and do some sort of impeachment thing, and maybe it would work in order to delay the hearings. What I would do if I'm in the Democratic Party, I would be screaming from the rooftops that we're dealing with a fascist movement, and then I would wait for Trump or McConnell to reveal their hand. Because, like I was saying, I think Trump and McConnell want two different things. They both want a judge to take over the court, but Trump wants it after the election so he can get reelected. McConnell wants it before the election so he doesn't have to chance Trump not getting elected. I would wait for them to play their hands, and then I would try and figure out how to divide the two. But I don't know. If you try and go ahead and do an impeachment, I hate to tell you, but if Donald Trump wins re-election or steals re-election, you have to keep the legitimacy of impeachment intact. You can't just impeach to, play a political ploy, even if he deserves it. You still have to have that in your arsenal because Trump is going to break the law one way or another, and you have to be able to impeach him and have it seen as legitimate. So it's a dangerous thing. And again, it goes back to what I said. I don't see how you stop this escalation unless you stop playing the game, and you have to stop playing the game. Nuance says, my question is, I keep hearing people talk about Election Day as the end point of the battle, but isn't it more or at least equally likely that November 4th is when the chaos actually begins to ramp up? Yeah, that's a real distinct possibility. We have a problem here. And by the way, I got to go back here in a second and answer a little bit more on something else. But before I do, there is a real possibility that Election Day is going to be absolute madness. Seeing already Trump supporters blocking polls, I think that that's going to be really, really bad. I think we're going to see militias and extremists out and about intimidating people. I think we're going to see a little bit of widespread chaos. I really do. And probably sectarian violence. I think Election Day is, I think it's going to be bad. I truly, honestly think it's going to be bad. Hold on 1 second. I just remembered that I had set another link to go out, and unfortunately it links to the other one. Oh, that's unfortunate. What a mess this was that this thing happened. All right, had to delete that. All right, here we are. Yeah, I think election night's going to be really bad, and I think Donald Trump will declare himself victorious. And I think that we're going to see a little bit of a meltdown. It's going to lead to a lot of electoral chaos and constitutional crises. Even if, and here's the thing, even if Joe Biden wins, and even if Donald Trump accepts defeat, which I have doubts, it's not like the right is just going to cool down. It's not like extremists are just going to accept this thing and be like, "Congratulations, you won. Let's see what happens." There's a real possibility that the right will become more extreme if Joe Biden wins, because I have to tell you right now, the story is going to be that Joe Biden is a front and a puppet of Kamala Harris and, the far left. That's what you're going to have to live with for as long as he's president. And you're going to have the far right believe that, and the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories are going to believe Soros, or, they've even showed like Bernie Sanders controlling them, which is bullshit. But no, I don't think it just stops. That's the unfortunate truth. And I don't think it stops until there's a new mythology for America to get behind, a new mission for America to get behind. And I think one of the ways that we calm this thing down is by making the economy better and fairer. And if we make the economy better and fairer, you're going to actually see a lot of these very angry young men who are going to back away from extremism. Doesn't mean all of them, because you're not gonna save all of them or whatever. But if you actually make the economy work a little bit better, you take off one of the ingredients that leads to fascism in these growing movements. I talk to former neo-Nazis and former white terrorists all the time. It's about young white men who are discouraged, unhappy, they don't have an identity, they don't have something to get behind, and they get drawn in and radicalized because it gives them something to believe in and something to fight for. So if we can fix this economy and actually, figure out how to make this country better and fairer and more decent, like we could possibly de-escalate things a little bit. Now, real fast, all of the questions so far have been about what Democrats can do, Democrat politicians. I don't think it has to be them. It's us. And we have to stop. I keep saying this, and hopefully you don't get tired of me saying it, because it's true. We have to stop waiting on heroes and messiahs and saviors. We have to get out in the streets too. We have to hold people accountable. We can't live in a nation where we just expect these people to take care of things for us, because it's turned into a society of spectacle. It's turned into a nation where our politics feels like it's totally beyond our control, and we're at the whim of it. It's almost like the ancient Greeks and Romans looking at the gods playing out, their dramas. That's the way we treat this thing. It's as if it's somehow or another beyond our control, and we're just, mortals who are being tossed about. We have to start acting, and if this thing continues to get so out of hand and so unfair, that's the problem with this, is it's so unfair, and it just doesn't even come near the social contract. We need to take action. We need to get out in the streets. We need to organize. We need to form our own communities. We need to form our own organizations. We just have to. Sarah says, how do we fight to win? How do we win? By winning, I mean get Biden and Harris in the White House and secure both houses of Congress. Also, how do we defeat the GOP? Two ways to answer that. One is, of course, going out to vote and donate and being organized. Now, those are all important things. But here is the thing. We have to stop looking at winning as the only goal. Just getting a president to the White House doesn't mean a whole lot. And by the way, it's interlinked. The way that you win an election is the same thing that we need to be doing, which is we have to find a new purpose and goal and crusade for America. We can't just continually say, well, once Donald Trump's out, everything will be fine. No, getting Donald Trump out of the White House is only the beginning. I keep telling people this, and I want you to hear me, and I hope that you will join me in this. Figure out what you want. Figure out how you want to make this country better, because that old dream of America is dead or dying, okay? It's when national mythologies and myths start to die that fascism takes over. It's that fascism feeds off that decaying mythology and those decaying histories and stories, and says, no, those things are still real. There's just traitors who are keeping us from that. We have to figure out what we want this country to be. And it can't be this American empire anymore. It can't be American hegemony. That failed. And not only did it fail, it hurt a shit ton of people. A shit ton of people, generations of people. It legitimized slavery and genocide and the oppression of people and the overthrow of democratically elected leaders around the country. It caused wars left and right. We have to find something better. So that's why I keep telling people, how do we win? We win by having a vision, because right now, the only people who really have a vision for the future are fundamentalists who want to turn back the clock to the point where liberal democracy doesn't exist, and hyper-capitalists who the only thing that they can imagine is taking off in their own private rocket ship and forming their own personal corporate paradise on Mars. Okay? And that's not a joke. That's what Elon Musk and other people like him want. Okay? Those are the two competing visions for the future. Either a neo-fascistic white ethno-state or corporate overlords on Mars. And I have to tell you, both of those, they suck. Those things suck. So how about the rest of us? How about we figure out something better? How about the rest of us find out something real and good and decent? How about that? So that's the way you win an election, and that's the way you win power, is by actually providing something approaching something better, some other mythology that takes the place of the dead and dying mythology. Salmon, since it is all Supreme Court all the time here on out, what do you think of the fate of the ACA? I don't know yet. I really don't know yet. My understanding is that, a lower court gets held up if it's a tie, but I'm not going to pass judgment on that yet. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen with the ACA yet. I would love a future where the ACA doesn't even have to exist anymore because, everybody has healthcare, because we deserve it, because we're an industrialized nation and we're the only one that doesn't have it. I got two that go along together, so I'm going to read them together. Rick, any thoughts on impeaching Barr or Trump, and what does it mean for election polls? Joan, my question is this: what are the chances Pelosi and the House start impeachment proceedings on either Trump or Barr? I wouldn't impeach Trump right now, even though he deserves it. I would impeach Barr. He has absolutely been derelict in his duty. Why not get him out there and make him really free? What about now?